Let me tell you about my cat this morning. I have a cat. She's a black and white cat. They call that a tuxedo cat. I'm not sure my cat is quite that classy to be called a tuxedo cat. She's not so much fancy, finicky perhaps, but the cat is weirdly antisocial. And perhaps I can't say that because I guess cats are supposed to be antisocial for the most part. But although she's always in the room with me, she's always just out of reach. And whenever I come near the cat, whatever it is that she's doing, she'll run away. Now, to combat that, I make sure that I at least a couple of times a day pick her up and rough her up and stuff like that to get her used to my style of loving. But despite that, maybe because of that, the cat's always running away from me, which is how she got her name. Actually, her name is Buttface Cat, and that's because she's always running away. I see more of her butt than her face, and hence Buttface. So that's my Buttface tuxedo cat. But she wasn't running away last night. Last night, as I was getting ready to bed, I went into to my room, and I think when I was putting away laundry, I think I hadn't closed the drawers properly, left them open, because there was this huge pile on the ground, like 10 or 12 pair of boxers and like 30 or 40 pair of socks, everything all like ripped up and jumbled into this nice big pile with the cat sitting atop the pile. And I walked in and she looked up at me with that kind of look of defiance of like, I'm not going anywhere. I'm not moving. And so I called in Noah and Kyungsu and said, you got to look at this cat, right? Look at what this cat's doing. And she wouldn't give ground. She was not going to yield no matter what. So finally Noah grabbed her and then I started the joy of refolding and defurring all my delicates as I put them away again. But I thought it was rather funny that with this cat, when she was caught doing something wrong, she refused to back down. Now, the cat obviously doesn't know that she's doing something wrong. I mean, to me, I don't like it because of the extra work. For her, like she lives in the house. Like, what else is she gonna do? She can't go anywhere, so she's trying to make a comfy little nest. So, but it's funny though how her behavior reflects ours in the sense that when we're caught doing something, most of the time, we don't like to admit it. We just we hunker down on our pile of laundry. We double down and we don't admit wrongdoing. Reminds me actually of there's another kind of funny cat story. When I was a kid, my brother Joe had eaten all the raisins out of the raisin bran, and it must have been a Saturday morning because Dad was eating breakfast with us, but he's pouring cereal. He's like, "What's the deal? There's no raisins in this raisin bran." He's getting a little hot under the collar, and me and my brother are both kind of keeping silent until Joseph rather helpfully pipes up and says, "Well, maybe Nebby ate it." And Nebula was our black cat. And my dad's like, you're trying to tell me the cat got up in the middle of the night and opened the box and ate all the raisins and put it all away for us to find in the morning?" And my brother's like, "Yeah, yeah, I think that's what happened." So my dad goes digging through the box and he finds like one of the last raisins in the bottom. He holds it up to the cat. He's like, "Look, the cat doesn't even like raisins." And my brother got in trouble for that one. But it's just rather funny that even when we're faced with our own guilt, when we've clearly done something wrong, we tend to just double down. We're not going to admit it, no matter what. Now, Canada actually has a law. I know it applies to doctors, and it might apply to other professionals as well, that allows us to apologize for something without assuming legal liability. And that's rather interesting that at least we can try and heal relationships even as we try and not take on the responsibility of fixing everything else. Um, Jeremiah actually writes about this attitude of kind of hunkering down over our sin and not admitting to it. He writes and he's writing about religious rulers at this point, and he said, "Are they not ashamed of their actions? Do they not even know how to blush?" And I think that's something that, as a society, in a lot of ways, we've forgotten how to blush. Excuse me, things that would have been unthinkable a short time ago, uh, now are just the matter of the day, right? And we very much see this in politicians around the world. You know, some of the behavior and comments that would have been just absolutely shocking a generation ago are just that's just the way that it is. But it brings to mind this idea, though, when we don't admit that we've done something wrong, we also take away any ability to be healed of it. So both the offender and the offended. I watched a movie last night, and I can't remember what it's called, but somebody had falsely accused the other of something, and he never did admit it. So of course the protagonist is not able to forgive him because he's not actually admitted what he's done. And Jesus speaks about this actually. He talks about this in Matthew in chapter 5, and he said, "Settle your case with your accuser while you're on your way to the court. Because once you're in there and once you're in front of the judge, then you're bound by whatever the judge has to say." So he said, before you even get to that point of the official accusation, settle the matter. And there's a lot of wisdom in that. Because when we do something wrong, God is good to forgive. We read this in the Bible. But most people are actually good to forgive as well. And most people, given the chance, would rather forgive than hold a grudge. And especially if we go before we are accused. So before you're found out, if you go to somebody and say, "Listen, I've done something. I've done something wrong, and I know what I've done. This is what I've done. This is why I did it, and this is what I'm going to do to avoid this in the future." And 9 times out of 10, people are good with that because we don't need to carry extra conflict in our lives, right? So when we do admit to our wrongdoing, people will forgive. When we go to God and we admit our wrongdoing, God will forgive. And what ends up happening is that we all grow together. So these fractured relationships, they become more healed, and if not completely whole, at least tolerable, right? That we can bear with one another, and we can be with one another in toleration and in love. So today's lesson, when you're caught on your pile of dirty laundry, don't hunker down and hold your ground, but rather just admit to what you've done, do what you can to clean it up, and move on.